right, and here we go. Welcome to another wonderful evening. I am your Saturday night, and we are here to do some painting. I'm going to have the captions enabled. If you need them, they are there. Just make sure to let me know if you see them. If you don't see them, understandable, mistakes happen, but at the same time, if I don't know, I can't fix it. So, welcome. We're going to be doing some painting, and what I'm going to be doing tonight is I'm going to be finishing up this painting from last week, which that's just guaranteed to be fun because we already have actually done a lot for this painting, and it's just about to move forward, getting to where it's going. I love kind of that exploratory fun, but there's already so much done here. So let me get my palette out of the way really quick. So here we actually are. So this is where we left off last weekend. I already have a lot here, but there's things that I need to correct. There's things that I need to do, and that is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be working with some round brushes for a little bit. So I have these nice round brushes. That's what I'm going to be working with. And I'm going to be working mostly with these Shuttle Art acrylic paints. These are a vintage paint. I like the way they work. I like the way they cover. They have a really nice opacity to them. They just have a generally great movement and flow. It's just so good. It's absolutely so wonderful. Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. You can catch me almost every Saturday at 5:30 Eastern Time for your Saturday night. And we've been doing a whole lot of painting, and generally speaking, I think that's the majority of what I do is all this painting. So a quick descriptor of where I am. I am in my studio space, which is sort of my library, my office. This is where I work out of. There's some books on one side of the wall on a bookshelf. On the other side, there is my fencing mask, and then my helmet next to that, and a wonderful Marilyn Monroe fabric wall hang behind. And here in the center is my canvas on my easel, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to start working this out. So one of the things that I'm going to be sharing today, depending on where you're joining me, is going to depend on where you see it, but I'm going to be sharing my website, and so that's going to pop up either in the description of the video or in the chat, depending on where you're joining me. And if you'd like to help support my art, or you just want yourself some really fun art for your home, or maybe you're looking for some art bags or some brush bags, pencil bags, you'd like a new t-shirt or sweater or something like that, you can get all those on my website. They are available there. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to be starting, and the first color I'm going to be applying is I have this light apricot. I'm going to take this light apricot from Shuttle Art, and I'm actually going to get a little bit of white as well. This one's also from Shuttle Art. And I'm going to be making a few corrections here, because there's just some stuff that, even though it's nice, even though it looks good, it didn't quite turn out right, because my eyes are uneven. They don't have the same shaping and everything. And then I ended up with this, the jawline is not even. So I'm going to fix both of those today. And I'm going to finish up some details in this, begin adding in additional aspects, and we're just going to have some fun with that. So let's start out. I'm going to be starting actually with this number 2 round brush. So I'm going to get this number 2 round brush. I'm going to grab that. And I'm going to get some of my paint. Now I like to use these wooden palettes. These are great for mixing, for art. This one's getting a little bit messy, but I was doing painting earlier today, so I'm going to have to clean it off really good. But we're going to get these out, we're going to get these on the palette, and we're going to start working. I'd like to say thank you for everyone who joins me for these streams, who joins me for this time together. I just think that there's so much fun to be had in this time together, in art, in all of this. So one of the first things I'm actually going to be doing is I'm going to take some light apricot, and I'm going to be adjusting some of this eyeline here. Now, the light apricot has a good opacity, and it's not going to cover up too much. But one of the things that I'm really doing right now is I'm trying to bring down some spots. There's also some area on the lips and around the mouth that I just want to work down. Because I think some of my shadows got really, really harsh last time. And one of the really good ways that I'm going to be able to do this is just by working in this apricot. Now, this is not going to stay, it's not just going to stay a flat color, but I need to take some of the hard colors away. And as I do that, I'm going to be kind of building a really nice extra amount of shadow and shading. So that's one of the goals here, is to really make some of my shadow areas a lot more distinct. And while we are at it, feel free to share like what you've been up to so far this weekend, how you're doing, whether or not you're an artist, and if you are, what are you working on? I want to know what you're working on. This is really where, we're going to start to just have a lot of fun. So here you can kind of see, like, the apricot isn't necessarily covering everything up. So it's allowing me to keep a lot of these darkened regions. And I don't want to, like, completely cover everything that I had darkened in. I want to retain variance in tone, but I just got really dark here. And in hindsight, I don't like it. So this is really a hindsight matter of, I think I can do a whole lot better here. In regards to my shadows, my shading, all of it. We're not going to undo so much as improve. New and improved. And actually you can kind of see as the apricot dries, because in some spots it's already drying very nicely. I'm not losing all that dark underneath. So we're going to start to build up our values and tones again. As I get this character, really ready for their new existence, their new life as an art piece. And this is just going to do, it's going to do so much for the total composition once we're done. I'm going to layer some more in here. Just layering some more in. Alright, I really like how that looks right now. So I'm going to set that down. You're done with that little part for the moment. Now I'm going to get my white. So one of the things that ended up happening is this eye is kind of more open, and this one ended up, that's really unnatural in a lot of ways. So we're about to try to make these eyes match more. And it's going to be a process. It's going to be a process because I got some really dark color in there. But that's already going to be a big improvement as I kind of pull the side of that eye open a little bit more. I want them both to cut across a little more evenly. Even if they're not symmetrical, they should have, kind of a similar shape, a similar appearance. While I do that, I'm actually going to go over to here a little bit, kind of spread that in. I'm even going to adjust that in the end. So, just doing that. And that's just adding both some highlights, and it's going to fade out some of the darkness, which is one of the things that we want to do. So I'm going to let that dry. And actually, as that dries, what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be adding a green tone. Where did I set it? Where did I set my green? I had a green I wanted to use. Alright. So I'm also going to be adding in a monstral green. So just so you can see it. So this is my monstral green. And this is actually from Cali Art. So I'm going to be using that. I'm going to be adding it into the eyes. Again, to bring the eyes out a little bit more. Now I don't need a lot of this green. Just a little. Just a little. And I'm going to get a rather small brush to do this. So I'm going to be using this brush here. Very small. Very small. Gonna get some green on there. And this monstral green, even though it's really bright, I'm gonna be adding that into the eye. So now that I have some of that here, what I'm gonna be doing I'm just going to begin adding that in. Now that I've just added a little bit of that in, it's already made a huge difference. I mean, that's a huge difference already. Because some things are being adjusted in here. The pupils, the irises, the eye shape is going to be just adjusted a good bit. as I'm doing this, I'm actually going to be painting down in there somewhat. So you can see, like, that already makes a huge impact on the eyes. Am I done with the eyes? Not by a long shot. Not by a long shot am I done with these eyes. But if I don't start to make these changes now, they're going to be really hard to implement later. And again, like, this is not a very opaque color. It's semi-translucent, which is good. That's what we want. We want kind of a semi-translucence. But you can see, like, how much pop that has, how much difference that creates. And I'm just layering it in. Just layering it in. I mean, I am going to be doing some more work on these eyes as I go. So if I put a little bit too much in, that's fine. I can cover it up. I actually put a lot in on the side that's going to be the most covered in darkness. But I'm going to be putting the pupil back in. So one of the things I want to do now is make sure that I have plenty of green present for when I fix this eye. So there we go. I think that's great. Like, that's good for that green. I've added a whole lot in there. We have a huge improvement now. Just absolutely huge improvement. With that done, I'll grab my white again. And this time I'm adding white on both sides because, again, I need to really bring back a lot of what I've done previously. So I'm going to just do that. And we're going to be putting shadow back in here, but this is just a step that will help me improve the overall final concept. So this is just, that's what that's doing. That's improving the final concept. Once we get there, it's going to look better. Now that that is having a chance to sit, I'm going to get some more of my apricot because I want to layer some more in down here. How's everybody doing? Feel free to say in the chat how you doing, how you been. If you're doing anything really fun or interesting this particular weekend. I was teaching my workshop today, something I really look forward to every week, well, not every week, every month. Makes a lot of things just more fun, more interesting. Really enjoy being able to spend time with people, painting, creating art. I'm going to be fixing these lips again, so again, we're not really losing anything spectacular as I layer this in. We're just creating a better final composition. And that's what's important to me. The best possible final composition I can get for what's essentially like a really fun piece of art. I'm really enjoying doing these more portrait style paintings. They're so interesting to me. There's so much I can do with them. You know, there's just a lot to be done here. And I like the way this all dries. I like the way it sets. This is giving more really nice depth to my character here, who still does not have a name, and I acknowledge that I need to change that. This character needs a name. So our last big character that we did was Josephine, and Josephine was great. The next color I'm going to be using is this lamp black. So we have that lamp black for the next color. Now for this particular one, I'm actually going to be using a thicker liner brush. That's what we're using here, thicker liner brush. I don't want too much on it. In fact, I want to make sure that I have very little paint here. So I'm going to be hitting some kind of subtle areas. Not super subtle, but these are just little things I'm going to be putting in. Again, going for very little on the tip. Here's where I get into my irises again. And then reshaping around the eye. So between the pupils and the irises, I think that that's already like a huge improvement. A huge improvement. We can do better. There we go. That's even better. Now, this is going to be a bit thick here for a minute, but I have some things I'm going to be doing, and I need to reestablish kind of this line. Yeah, that'll do. Alright, now that I've done that, I just have one little thing to do here. So I'm going to be grabbing my green as I correct more of these aspects of this piece. Now that I have that green in hand, and now giving more color and definition to this eye shape. Just more. Happy Saturday. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Since I've done that, come in here. even though I added some more of the pupil on that side, I just putting more of this in. So, like, the eyes are just getting better. That's the goal. Eyes are getting better as we go. Getting more shape, getting more definition, getting more life. So much more life. So happy Saturday. I hope you're having a great weekend. No matter what you're doing. No matter what you're doing. I hope you're having a great weekend. Alright, come back in here. Do that. And I know it's going to take a couple of passes to really get what I want, but now that I've done that, just come back in here with my black. Actually, I need a little more black. So the eyes are a little more balanced now. They have a better overall look to them. You know, we're getting more of a semi-naturalistic look. I mean, yes, there's a lot in this piece which, let's be clear, I mean, I think we all know there's a lot of very interpretive aspects of this. And if you don't know, well, no, that's fine. We learn as we go, and we continue, and we create. I'm having a lot of fun here, though. Got some green paint on my hand. That's okay. We're going to live with that. Oh, my goodness. My brushes are doing whatever they want right now. All right. Add a little more white here. Put some more of that right there. Put some more of that right there. You know, we want those reflective shines, and we want to make sure that there's plenty of white in the eyes. And now with this white, what I'm going to be doing here is I'm just going to be, because I have a lot more to do in the hair, and I want to go ahead and put some reflection and shine in here now. I'm going to be covering a lot of it up, but each one of these layers, each one of these aspects to the final composition really improves our overall look, our overall completion. And then I'm going to do that because I'm actually going to be extending the hair more into that direction. There we go. And that's just some necessary structuring and building as we go. Necessary structuring and building. So we have a lot going on. And one of the next things I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking my phthalo blue. So that phthalo blue is making up a lot of what's in the background. And what I'm going to do really quick is I'm just going to touch a couple of spots. Some which you can't see, some which you can. I'm going to take that phthalo blue because that's just a wonderful tone. So I'm hitting some of these corners. And it's really going to help with what's going to be some of my darker spaces. Because I'm not going to be using a ton of black. There's black in very specific spots. Very specific spots. And because we're so sparing with the black, we actually get more effect out of where it is used. And that's one of those things. So you get a lot more effect out of each of your colors when you're using it more sparingly and with more intention. So we just have wonderful intention here and wonderful attention. I'm gonna say attention because I just like it in here. And what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start to cut back some of this because I want this deep shadowy area here. That's going to start to let me make both sides of the face start to match up better. And hopefully you can already see that, like the face coming together more, matching up better. And it's also letting me put like this deep shadow in. So now our face is a lot more symmetrical. A lot more visually interesting. And I'm going to be able to build up certain aspects of this even more now. And all it took was adding a little bit of blue, you know. So there we are, you know, better shadowing, more visual interest. There's a lot more going on now. The eyes are starting to even out. The jawline is more even. I'm going to start to be able to lay more details on top of everything. And as I'm able to layer more details on top of everything, I'm going to be able to create a better physical look. But I just did all of that, so I should be able now to come in here and put a little more white on this eye. So I build this up a little bit more, kind of matching either side a little bit better. And one of the things I'm actually going to be doing is some of these imperfections I'm going to have covered with more shadow and things like that. And just all sorts of extra physical features. You know, we need to take everything little bit by little bit. And that's what we're doing, little bit by little bit. So, I've already added a whole lot going on here. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to take amber brown, and this is also a shuttle art. And this amber brown I'm going to come through, and I'm going to start adding more to the hair. I already have these whites, these blacks, these blues. I have all of this different color and texture, which goes a long way towards making what our piece looks like. But I want to take this amber brown and I want to start lightening some of what's going to be the hair. Again, this is a nice transparent paint. Because it's a nice transparent paint, it's not going to take away too much. It's just going to start adding a tone I'm going to have to be a little heavy with some of it, but hopefully you can see what I mean. It's not really taking away from our final composition. It's actually adding more depth to the color. You can still see a lot of the early color, but that's adding more depth to it. It's adding a warmth to it also. And that's one of those things that I really want there, is I want there to be warmth and depth. But I also want areas where the hair is to be really well defined. So that's one of the things that we're getting now. Once this dries, it's going to just really improve some of our tones and kind of the layering. We're going to have better layering, better tone. So that's what I'm achieving right now. I'm getting that extra layer and tone. So we're going to pull back off that when we come back. But once that dries, that's going to just have a great sticking out. It's going to look really nice. It's going to look really cool. It's going to just improve the final look so much, so much. All right. So I have that monstro green in the eyes, but we can't have single tone eyes. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding a vintage green in. And this is from Shuttle Art. So this is my vintage green, and I'm actually going to be putting that just on the bottom side of the eye, so that we have two different tones of green in here. So I'm going to get a flat brush, and I'm going to get my vintage green. I'm using a small flat brush for this. I'm going to take that vintage green, and I'm just going to add it into part of the eye. And as this dries, this is going to give kind of a multi-tone effect. And actually on this eye, I'm going to add a little bit more. I am going to correct it, but that's just, it's going to give us a different effect to that eye. It's going to feel a little more alive. Now I'm going to take my black here. Just adding more black on this side. Some of it is to add physical effect. Some of it is to begin reshaping the face. Now I know that's really heavy right now, but don't worry, it's all going to balance out and it's going to look great. You know, we're just really pulling a lot more out. Now that I've done that, I'm actually going to cover up what was a strand of hair, or at least start to cover it a little bit, because I'm going to redraw that line in there. So maybe that's going to be a shadow when I'm done. And as I'm working on it, I'm going to put it in here, because I think these are going to end up as shadows. That's what I feel is going to look right. You know, I'm changing my mind as I go. And that's just one of those beautiful things in art. We get to change our minds. We get to say, I don't like that. Let's do it a different way. And as you can see, like, kind of the features of the face are starting to pull out more. They're becoming, like, more noticeable. Now, some of this over here is going to look a little weird for a minute. But I have plans, and we're just going to go with it. You know, it's all part of the final look. Thank you. Very nice of you to join. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Just keep building and building and building as we get these shadows and the final shading all worked in. Like everything else, it's a process, and the process is a lot of the fun here. I thought that shadow looked a little harsh, so we've taken it down a lot. But we're getting closer and closer to what we want. Just getting closer and closer. With each additional layer, as it sits, as it dries, you know, we get a better physical shading. It looks more three-dimensional. Each part is requisite to the whole. And then we have a lot of shadow to rebuild here as we go. But because of all those shadows that were put in early, you know, the final textures are coming out a lot better. Originally I thought that strand of hair looked nice, but we're going to take most of it out. We're going to have a different fall for the hair. So that's what we're slowly working up towards. Just a different fall to the hair. I think we're slowly getting there very nicely. Very slowly. Definitely a really good change. So realistically, I think this is going to, it's going to take a couple more good goes, I think, actually. Now that I'm looking at it, now that I'm really considering it. But I darkened and then I lightened some areas. And now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going in and I'm going to be, again, kind of altering some of these curves. Putting some more of this blue in here again. And this is also allowing me to change the shadowing. And take some of the face back and then increase the depth. Some of that hard shadow in over here. I know I lightened a lot of that, but as I do this, I'm going to be increasing some of the hard shadow. Which is just one of those things we definitely want to hit as much of as we can. Getting the appropriate amount of shadow and depth and interest. And we're definitely building some really nice shadows. Because of the shaping here. So there we go. Like that's really fun. That's some really fun deep shadow. So now that some things have dried, I'm going to come back and just with a little bit of white. I have a couple places I want to hit. So one of them is here. I just want to keep adding some white over there. We have some other plans also for the eyes. But what I'm going to be doing here so this is something that I had done before, but I'm going to be doing again. And that's just adding some lightness to these lips. And I know right now, like, they're really light, really, really light, but it's all part of that wonderful process that we've been working through. That on there. Because one of the things that ended up happening is we got like such heavy, heavy shadows on the face that it was starting to really pull away from a lot of the natural contouring. So yeah, we're going to be at this for at least a little bit longer. I won't say how long, I don't know. Like with all paintings, it's about knowing when it's done. And because there's areas I've decided I want to, cover and redo as I go, it's going to be a bit. But thank you for joining me for this absolutely wonderful exploration. Some of the shadows are getting lighter as I go. Some of the facial features are getting a lot better defined. Some are becoming wholly different than they originally were. But you have to keep going until it's right. And that is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep going until this painting is what I want. I realize this is now the second stream for this painting. I'm not sure necessarily if we're going to do 3 streams. I cannot say for certain right now. What I can say though is I'm really happy with how much has been done. in the few streams that we've done this, or the couple streams we've done this. And I'm really impressed with how far we're coming, how far things are going. Has everything turned out right? No. Will everything turn out right? Eventually. Eventually we're going to reach the place where this just is right. And then I won't have any questions anymore about, oh, should I do a little more here? Should I do a little more there? I'll look and I'll know. That's enough here. That's enough there. But I'm sure you can see as we've come further along, all of that shading and all of that line work and all of that blocking that I had done previously is really starting to pay off in the way that this sits, the way that it looks, the way that it feels. And actually, I'm really glad I decided to change certain parts of this. I'm so glad I decided to change certain parts of this, because I'm going to have a better final result because of that. We're going to have an amazing final result. So I've added a lot here. I've done so much building. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put some more vermilion on, because I took away a lot of the darkness from the lips. So I'm going to mix a little vermilion with just a little white. Use a smaller brush for this. White, and a little vermilion. And with this nice blend of vermilion and white, I'm going to come back in . start to darken the lips in again.
Not a lot yet. There's a lot of work here to do. But each time I come through, each time I add to the face, to the shape,
I realize I have a lot of work left to do on these lips.
they are not ending up the way I want them quite yet. At least not yet.
So one of the last colors I'm going to be using today is Raw Umber.
This is also from Shuttle Art. I'm going to begin putting that with this number 8 round brush in here. And I took a lot of brightness. I added a lot of brightness when I put the amber in. But with this raw umber, I'm going to kind of dull some of that down. So that's what we're doing here. We're dulling some of that down. I added so much brightness and warmth too. I mean, warmth was a really big part of it. We had warmth, we had tone. And now I need this raw umber in here to kind of mellow it out. And that's what we're doing here. We're going to mellow it out. I'm just going to put some of those in there. Like maybe some hair is curling up from the bottom. That side, and then here, oh yeah, there we go, a little bit there, get that in here, so we've just come so far from where we started, just leaps and bounds. Leaps and bounds.
But oh my goodness, it was worth it, wasn't it? Look at how everything is. Look at how it turned out. Now, we've only been here for about an hour. What I'm going to be doing, though, is I'm going to be sharing those links again with you. So depending on where you're joining me, there's going to be links to my website. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, make sure to pop over to my website where you can get art, originals, where you can get my merch, whether it's prints, whether it's sweaters or t-shirts. I have art bags and brush bags and pencil bags, just tons of stuff there. Check it out. Get something. It'd mean the world to me if you did. And if you do get something, please take a picture of yourself with whatever you get, because that would be absolutely awesome. Just absolutely awesome. I realize, though, you know, I've only been here for about an hour with you, but whew, I am tired today. I did my workshop earlier, so this is going to end up 3 streams before we finish this painting. I don't know when that stream's going to be, because next week I probably will do something else. But that's how it sits right now. This is where we've ended up. Thank you for being here. I want you to take care, to be excellent. And I can't wait to see what happens from here. But I'm going to let this dry, because I've put a lot of colors on here, and we have done a lot of work, and it has been phenomenal. So you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care. Be excellent. And I'll see you again next time.